Big Jordan Henderson interview given to David Ornstein and The Athletic by the England midfielder in response to his move to Saudi Arabia this past summer. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is centering around the England midfielder known as Jordan Henderson, who of course made a big move to Saudi Arabia this past summer. And today, an interview has been released by The Athletic and by David Ornstein, given by the former Liverpool captain in response to his move this past transfer window. Yeah, this transfer window, Europe has seen a heavy hit and a heavy hit influence by Saudi Arabia, as major monumental money has been influenced by Saudi Arabia in response to obviously trying to get them and their football and their league to be growing in reputation, growing in stature and growing in value across the world. And obviously it has seen a lot of money being thrown around, and therefore a lot of big name players move and change their lives to Saudi Arabia from their former, or now former club, should I say. And Henderson was one of the many names and a long list of names to obviously make that leap from where he was with his current club Liverpool to obviously now where he is at Al-Ettifaq with Saudi Arabia, linking up with former teammate Steven Gerrard, of course, who is now the manager of that club. A lot of people were questioning the move, and especially with Henderson, a lot of people were questioning that move, especially given his stature within the game, especially given his profile within the game, and especially given the fact that not only was he a captain of one of the biggest clubs in world football, but he was also representing England. He was also the vice-captain of the England national team, and as well, the main bulk as to why people were questioning and angry and frustrated at his move to Saudi Arabia was because of obviously his relationship and his affiliation with the LGBT plus community. Obviously a lifestyle that Saudi Arabia don't exactly accept over there in that particular country. And like I say, an interview today was released. Many people will probably change their minds. Some people will probably still have the same mindset on Henderson as to why he moved. It's a very interesting interview, and I do recommend people take the time out to read it and everything else that goes along with that. But we're going to be talking about it today. We're going to be briefly talking about certain key points that were brought up within the interview from David Ornstein. Things like obviously how the move materialized, things like how his relationship with Jurgen Klopp is, England opportunities, linking up with Gerrard, and obviously the main bulk, like I say, on his relationship with the LGBT plus community. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And also for you lot to get involved in the comment section. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, that make for interesting and great reading down below in that comment section. So do get involved down there. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk about this Jordan Henderson interview. Like I say, first and foremost, right off the bat, this is one of the most highly anticipated interviews, I think, in recent times. Obviously, a lot of people were anticipating this interview to hear the response of what Henderson had to say on his move to Saudi Arabia, given his status and platform in the game, as I mentioned before. I think no matter what kind of response and answers that Henderson gives, I think that it's going to be met with a lot of division in terms of people's thoughts on him and on his move. So don't think he really has a clear right or wrong in this situation in terms of the answers that he could give. I think people will still be divisive and divided on this particular topic. That you can maybe blame Henderson for, because he kind of backed himself into a corner on that one. Not really going to comment on that particular part of the story. But you know what I'm talking about when I say that this was, or this is going to be an anticipated move by him in terms of obviously giving the interview. Of course, Henderson is currently preparing for international duty, having been selected for the England international side, so it does appear that his move hasn't affected his chances of getting into that England side going forward. But of course, with him doing that, he has managed to find the time to obviously give this particular interview to David Ornstein and The Athletic. And Ornstein, again, does a great job in guiding the interview to some good key points throughout the entirety of it. Within the interview, he claims that at Liverpool, he sensed his time was over. He sensed that obviously having had a constant communication with Jurgen Klopp and obviously having a good relationship with Jurgen Klopp, he kind of got the sense that Klopp was looking at the future and maybe Henderson wasn't necessarily a part of that, and therefore sensed that his playing time would become reduced over time and that he didn't really feel wanted by Liverpool. Not that they were pushing him out, but he sensed that he wasn't going to be happy with entering the latter stages of his career playing only 10 or 20 minutes here and there in certain games. He wanted to be playing more regular football. He wanted to be more valued at the club. He wanted to be more wanted at the football club, and he didn't feel like he was getting that at Liverpool. And add on top of that the fact that England was a big thing for him. He didn't want to obviously be sat on the bench and maybe risk his England call-ups being reduced over time or just completely disappearing entirely, even though of course Gareth Southgate is crazy and weird and obviously has his favourites. And the fact that Harry Maguire and Calvin Phillips can practically play virtually no football and still manage to get in the England squad, you would imagine Henderson could have followed suit in that, with obviously Gareth Southgate then being called hypocritical if he didn't. But of course, it's admirable on Henderson's part that was obviously a big part of his career. And of course, rather than sit on the bench and obviously get a free pass to the England side, he obviously wanted to go out and earn it whilst playing regular football and play football with a smile on his face, as he claims, when, like I say, being given the fact that obviously he's entering the twilight of his career. So he says that was main motivation, and people will claim that obviously the monetary gain would have been the main motivation for him. And he goes on to say that it's no secret that obviously money is part and parcel of being a footballer, and obviously it's a big part of playing football. And like I say, he makes no secret about that, and obviously he couldn't hide away from it, and he couldn't shy away from the fact that obviously he's on big money. He was on big money at Liverpool. He's going to be on big money at Al-Ettifaq, where obviously now he's playing his football. He goes on to claim that the 700,000 or whatever the hell it is obviously not the case. That is nowhere near the figure that he's on, and that's being exaggerated by the media. But he also says that the money isn't exactly cheap either. So of course that was always going to be a factor. But obviously he claims that money isn't his main motivation, and it never has been his main motivation. He goes on to say that playing football and playing with a smile on his face has always been his main motivation. Money is just part and parcel of being a footballer, something that has to be a given, and the financial package was right for his move to happen. Now, some people will claim that's absolute rubbish. Some people will claim that he's just trying to disguise the fact that it's money. For certain players that have gone out there, some people have been open about the fact that they're money motivated, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that entirely. That's their decision. Some people have claimed it's about changing their culture, changing their horizons, changing for a challenge, and obviously trying to help a new league grow and obviously be more reputable and more valuable. So there's a lot of different reasons that footballers have given, and again, you can believe what you want to believe. For me, Henderson's never come across as a guy that's being driven mainly by money. Of course, it is a factor, and as he goes on to say, it is a factor. But I always felt this guy has been football driven. I always feel like this guy has always wanted to see different challenges, to obviously challenge himself, and to obviously be a guy that has seeing himself as something he can add value to, seeing as something he can add something to. And obviously with the project that Al-Ettifaq presents itself and with the Saudi League as a whole presents itself to Henderson, I wouldn't be surprised if those are the kind of things that he's talking about when he says that he wants to be valued, he wants to be wanted, and he wants challenges ahead of him. Obviously, the lifestyle is going to be different. That's going to be a challenge in itself, and a new one that he wants to broaden his horizon to, seemingly. Obviously, a changing of culture, changing of league, changing of country, and everything along those lines is going to be big for him. But as well, on a footballing level, that's going to be a big change for him. And like he said previously, he wants to feel wanted. He wants to feel valued. And I think playing under Steven Gerrard, which again, he goes on to say was a big part of him wanting to move out there as well, a former teammate, friend as well. That was a big part. And like I say, the opportunity that presents itself in being a big part, adding his experience, adding his profile, adding his stature in the game to that league to make it more advertising, more reputable, more growth in terms of quality. Those things are all to be considered as well. I'm not trying to spin this in a sort of PR piece for Henderson. These are just my genuine thoughts on that situation. You obviously can draw your own thoughts. I'm not trying to suck up to him in any way or anything along those lines. I'm just trying to give my open and honest thoughts and opinions. I'm not saying money isn't a motivator for him, but I also see the other factors as to why he personally would go there. But of course, the main bulk of the interview, other than obviously to talk about his move and obviously talk about him on a playing level and how he wants to go out there and help the Saudi League in terms of growing and get better and more reputable, has obviously been the LGBT stuff and the kind of way that he's seemingly turned his back on them. And I use the quotation marks because some people will say that, some people won't say that. So in my opinion, I said it for the summer. I said when this move happened that I think Henderson believes that he can go out there and he can maybe be a spokesperson from within the organisation. I think he thinks that he can go out there and make a change. He can make a positive influence and be a good spokesperson for the LGBT community. And he doesn't make any bones about it either. He goes on to be he's self-aware that obviously he understands the anger and frustration from certain members of that community that feel like he's turned their back on them to go out and play in a country that obviously doesn't have the same type of views that obviously they represent and everything. So he's self-aware of that, and he goes on to apologise if anybody does feel betrayed by his move. But he goes on to say that there is change happening out there. There are women and kids that are playing football out there, and things are slowly but surely changing. And he hopes to be a part of that change and someone that can be a positive influence on maybe them changing their ways. He goes on to say that he's not going to do anything to upset the beliefs of the country and of the culture, and simultaneously they've made clear that they're not going to do the same to him, and that's how it should be. And he wants the change to happen gradually and naturally, but he understands that it's going to take time. Again, how you feel on that as someone a part of the community, if you are, or someone on the outside and looking in of that community, obviously you'll have to make your own minds up. For me personally, I did feel like this kind of talk was going to come out from him. I did feel like this was going to be his answer, and I alluded to it when he made that move, that this would be sort of his mindset. I believe that this would be sort of his mindset going into this move as to why he would be making that move to jump from where he currently is to Saudi Arabia, obviously a country that is different, a country that is a different challenge for him on a footballing level and as a lifestyle level, and also he's going to be challenging for his beliefs and obviously for just his beliefs really, in terms of obviously the LGBT aspect of his life. Whether you believe it or not, like I say, is entirely up to you. For me, I believe him when he says about the monetary thing. He doesn't strike me as a guy that is monetary driven. as in comparison to some other players that have made the move out there. He doesn't strike me as a guy that would bother about that kind of thing, because let's face it, it wasn't like he was on peanuts whilst playing at Liverpool. Obviously, I agree with him when I think that he wants to play as much football as he can during the end of his career. Obviously, it's not going to be too far away, you would imagine. But of course, he can still go. Injuries may still affect him, but it might be a bit more of a less demanding league out there, and it may help him in certain aspects in terms of his development in that aspect. Obviously, his England chances, you would imagine, would have dwindled if he'd have been sat on the bench. But like I said earlier, with the likes of Calvin Phillips and Harry Maguire still managing to get in the squad, anything is possible under Southgate, it seems. But obviously, the main part is going to be the LGBT thing, and I think that's going to rub people up the wrong way still in certain aspects. But I understand his thought process, and like I say, I have understood his thought process throughout. Do I think it will happen? Do I think it's going to make a massive change? Not for the immediate future, but if, like I say, if it's true and everything is slowly changing out there for a more inclusive culture, then so be it. But that change and that process is going to happen gradually, and it's not going to be completely changed just because he's gone out there. But if he can be a good spokesperson for it, if he can be a good representative of the community whilst being in that culture, hopefully influencing change, not forcing it down people's throats, but naturally, then so be it. And it might be a positive influence that we look back on and say, you know what, we were against it at first, we didn't quite understand it at first, but it has helped in the long run, and maybe that could be a good a good point for the future of that culture and of that kind of belief system. But we'll obviously have to wait and see, obviously, on how that goes. Like I say, I think either way, it's going to divide people, this interview. So I do think, like, whatever answers he gave to the questions, it was always going to divide people. But I do encourage you to check out the interview. Do go on and read it if you haven't already. Very interesting take from him, obviously, as he prepares to go on England international duty. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this Jordan Henderson interview given to The Athletic and David Ornstein in response to his move to Saudi Arabia? What are your own thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this particular topic? Would love to hear them all and read them all down below in the comment section. I'm sure they will make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Have a good day. I'll see you soon.